Director Jason Reitman takes an inside look at the moments leading up to the premiere episode of NBC's Saturday Night, which of course later became Saturday Night Live. This dates back to 1975. This show is already in its 50th season. So yeah, this takes us back to the beginning. Let's talk about the movie Saturday Night. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie review for Saturday Night. This is directed by Jason Reitman, who has brought us Juno and Young Adult and the recent Ghostbusters movie Afterlife, which was great. And he is taking a look at the beginnings of Saturday Night Live when it was known as NBC's Saturday Night. They don't get into this in the movie, but there was another show on TV at the time called Saturday Night Live with Howard Cosell, which was on, I think, ABC. It must have been because he was their commentator for football. So they couldn't use the name Saturday Night Live until his show went off the air about a year and a half later. But anyway, that's besides the point. Look, Saturday Night Live, one of my favorite shows of all time. So I was very, very excited for this movie. We're going to talk about if it delivered or not in just a second. First, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are one of my subscribers already, thank you for returning. Always love having you come back to the channel. But if you're not one of my subscribers, please consider doing so and click that notification bell. That, of course, will get you all the information for when my new videos drop. And I try to post something new every day, so there's always something going up. But look, either way, like this video, comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this movie or SNL as a whole. I know a lot of people say, oh, SNL's not as funny as it used to be, or, you know, Saturday Night Dead used to be, you know, the big moment for journalists, you know, in the 90s. They would keep saying that. For me, it's really one of my favorite shows of all time. During COVID, my friends and I were talking about doing a top 50 TV shows video, and each of us would do sort of our own top 50. And I kept coming back to SNL as my number one show. You know, a lot of people associate me with The Simpsons, and yes, Simpsons is certainly one of my all-times for sure. But I haven't seen a new episode of The Simpsons in probably 7 or 8 years. But SNL, I watch religiously every single week that there's a new episode. There's already been 3 this year that I've seen in full, and it's the only show I can think of really that's been on since I've been alive. I mean, I guess like the Tonight Show has and stuff too, but in terms of, you know, rotating hosts and all that kind of stuff, you know, I just can't imagine that it's been, you know, 50 years. So we're going back to 1975 for this movie. This is in real time. It's the 90 minutes leading up to the premiere episode. So we're dealing with a lot of issues with the cast and with the crew and with the lighting and with everything, including the NBC suits that don't even want this show on the air. They want to run a Carson repeat, which was what they were doing, by the way, before SNL came on the air on Saturday nights. They would just air a Carson from like a couple of weeks prior, so it's still kind of current, whatever. And I've read a couple of books on Saturday Night Live. Like, I am a fan. And so, look, most of the things that happened in this movie did happen in real life. Now, did they happen the 90 minutes preceding the show? No, for the most part, you know, many of them didn't, but some of them did. Like, for example, you know, Belushi did not sign his contract until moments before going on the air. And so with that in mind, you know, this, we'll get to the cast in a second, but this is one of those sort of, okay, here's a bunch of ragtag kids that are trying to do something. You know, the man's kind of trying to bring them down. Are they going to make it? You know, are they going to succeed? And it's a little silly to sort of speculate with this movie because we know that the show went on the air. The show succeeded, and of course, you know, is now in its 50th season. And there are maybe one too many references in this movie about, oh, this show isn't going to last 6 weeks. This show's not going to go anywhere, you know, blah, blah, blah. It does, I will admit, bring the tension down a little bit. You know, when you have the suit, the main kind of guy in charge is played by Willem Dafoe. And, you know, there's a moment of sort of tension where just a couple of minutes before 11:30, you know, they're debating still, are we going to air this show? Is it going to be live? As the audience, we all, you know, even if you've never seen 1 second of Saturday Night Live, you know that it's still on the air today, and you know that obviously it succeeded. So, you know, in that regard, it's a little bit of a sort of, okay, I already know for sure what's going to happen here. But one of the things I really enjoy that Reitman did, even though these events, a lot of them did not necessarily happen in the moments leading up to the show, this is a film in real time, and I always love a real time storytelling narrative. I think it's so interesting to really get those exact moments in to the minute. And there's a clock that comes up every 15 to 20 minutes or so on the screen that tells you, okay, here's what time it is now, and the clock, will flip to the next minute. I think that is fun. I love a real time storytelling device. I think it's really cool. And look, okay, Jason Reitman, I talk about some of these other directors, but Jason Reitman really is up there for me. A lot of his movies do land kind of in that A minus range. Juno is one of my favorite movies of all time. That's an A plus for me. But the recent Ghostbusters he did, Afterlife, was great. Young Adult with Charlize Theron is great. The only movie I really don't like of his is Labor Day. And I love Kate Winslet, but that was just kind of not a great movie. But his first movie, I think it was Thank You for Smoking, and that's a great movie. So he's definitely got my eye when it comes to movies. But the only people I really knew going into this movie, at least in terms of the Saturday Night Live cast and sort of their doppelgangers, you have Lamorne Morris from The New Girl playing Garrett Morris. No relation, just same last name, but he's playing him. And then Dylan O'Brien is Danny Aykroyd. And obviously he's from The Maze Runner, and I think he was on Teen Wolf as well on MTV. But boy, oh boy, I mean, the two of them just completely like melted into these characters. And Lamorne does look a lot like Garrett, I think, but Dylan O'Brien doesn't really look that much like Dan Aykroyd. But boy, the mannerisms and the voice, I mean, he was just nailing it. So other than that, you've got Gabriel LaBelle playing Lorne Michaels, and I know him from The Fablemans, but I did not recognize him in this role. And I didn't really know his name either. So even though I love that movie, The Fablemans, until the credits came up and Gabriel LaBelle, I was like, I have to look this guy up. And he was in The Fablemans. You have Rachel Sennott as Rosie Schuster, who was at the time married to Lorne Michaels. And she's been in a few things. She was in this awful TV show called The Idol last year. She's done a few things. Corey Michael Smith plays Chevy Chase, who, again, I mean, he just embodies Chevy with his mannerisms and all of that. He was in the movie May December last year on Netflix. Ella Hunt plays Gilda Radner. Emily Farron plays Lorraine Newman. Matt Wood, John Belushi, and Kim Matula as Jane Curtin. But you also have some people that are not in the cast that are heavily involved, including Dick Ebersol, who at the time I guess was the head of late night programming on NBC. And he actually took over Saturday Night Live for a couple of years when Lorne Michaels left in the early 80s. But he's played here by Cooper Hoffman, who is from Licorice Pizza. And I didn't recognize him either. I probably should have. But he was playing like a 15-year-old kid in Licorice Pizza. And that was only a few years ago. Here he's obviously playing, a young 20-something, around the same age as Lorne. Kind of guy. But you also have Nicholas Braun from Succession doing double duty here. He plays both Andy Kaufman and Jim Henson. A lot of people don't realize, that the Muppets were a part of season 1 of Saturday Night Live, and nobody wanted them there. They touch on that here. You also have, you know what? I won't. Should I say who plays these people? I guess I should. I thought this was kind of a fun surprise, but you have J.K. Simmons playing Milton Berle. And you should have guessed J.K. would be in this because Jason Reitman, I think, has had him in all of his movies. Certainly, he was, the dad in Juno. He had a cameo in the Ghostbusters movie. He was in Thank You for Smoking. So I think he's been in maybe all of Jason Reitman's movies. So that does make sense. He plays a great Milton Berle. And there's no evidence that Milton Berle was on the set of SNL opening night, but he does factor into the first season's lore a little bit. So you have him in there. Matthew Rhys plays George Carlin, who hosted the first episode. He was fantastic, and I just finished watching The Americans. Matthew Rhys, unrecognizable. I had no idea it was him. He does a great George Carlin. And then John Batiste as Billy Preston, who was the first musical guest. They actually had 2 musical guests the first night with John Batiste, with Billy Preston and Janice Ian. I don't know who plays Janice Ian. All right. doesn't even. Oh, here you go. Naomi McPherson. Don't know her, but you have a lot of other people in this, like Billy Crystal, Paul Schaefer. That you will recognize. But John Batiste, man, what a game changer he was too. He didn't have a lot of speaking lines, but they perform the Billy Preston song "Nothing from Nothing" as we're leading into the last few minutes leading up to the premiere going on the air. And oh my god, like I teared up. "Nothing from Nothing" is a great song. It was a number one hit in 1974. It's kind of his big hit. He did have one other number one, but that's like what he's remembered for, right? And it's about love, really. About, hey, what are you bringing to the table? You need to give me something more if you want to be with me. But in the context of this show, they really were building something from nothing. So when he's singing, nothing comes from nothing, I was like tearing up as they were like bringing the audience into the stands and everything. So look, this movie does have a few flaws for sure, but they are minor in comparison to how much of a success this movie is at really giving us that feel of what it was probably like. Maybe not necessarily right before, maybe not those 90 minutes leading up, but probably the couple of weeks leading up to the show, where a lot of things were changing, and, dress rehearsal was over 3 hours because they had so many things that they wanted to pack in, and all of that. And originally Lorne was going to be the host of Weekend Update before they changed to Chevy. That's something that happened, weeks before, not the night of. But, it's fun to see them kind of nod to that. Everybody was just on their A game. And look, it made John Belushi look like kind of a dick, and I've always felt that about him. I've never really liked John Belushi, and then reading the SNL backstory books didn't change my mind at all. He comes off really as a bit of a jerk in this. Makes sense. And Chevy comes off as super egotistical, which of course we know that now. And I think it was true then because he only was on the show for like a season or something. A lot of people remember him with the show for a long time, but no, he left to go to movies very, very quickly. So look, overall, this was a huge success of a movie. I was really wondering how this was going to go. But I figured with the capable hands of Jason Reitman, it was going to be a winner, and sure enough, it is. I leave Saturday Night with an A minus. For fans of the show, absolutely go see it. But even if you don't really know much about SNL, or you haven't watched much of it, I think this is a great, great movie just in general. I think it helps if you know a little bit about the mannerisms of the actors involved and all that kind of stuff, because you can really kind of feel that they were embodying their characters here. But yeah, definitely a success. So all right, thank you for watching Dan Reviews It, and I will see you next time.